Hey, Alric, thanks for joining. Just wanted to check to see if you could hear me okay.
Yes. Thank you all for having me. Can you all hear me fine?
Yep, sure can. We'll get started here in just a few minutes. We're still waiting for a few to show up, and we'll probably just have a couple minor agenda items before we hand it over to you, perhaps about 5 after 1 or so.
Okay, sounds good.
All right, thank you. Didn't get notification from anyone else that they would not be able to.
Oh, it's the lady's thing that's always online. Andrea. Is Andrea gonna be online?
Didn't hear what she was on, so maybe she's.
It'll be a short meeting.
Thanks, Joe.
There's one in July, I'm kind of TBD. All right.
Here's Andrea.
So I don't.
2, 3, 4. Yeah. Oh. Hey, Andrea, thanks for joining.
Hello.
We have five.
We've got
Oh, yeah,
four.
they're showing.
Oh. Sean, yeah. Yep. Good. Hey, Sean, thanks for joining in. I know you had some meetings and stuff, so appreciate you joining.
Yeah, no problem. It got postponed till tomorrow, so.
Great.
All right, well, it's 1 o'clock. So we'll call this meeting of the Clean Energy Advisory Committee to order. Do a quick roll call. Andrea Bennett.
Present.
Thanks. Evan Folds, Jessica Cannon, Lindsay Hallett, Owen Wexler, PJ Klein,
Present.
Richard Smith,
Present.
John Sullivan,
Present.
Kat Coleman present. All right. First item on the agenda is approval of the minutes. Do I have a, whatever, what's it called?
Motion.
A motion.
I motion to approve the minutes. I second.
Excellent. And because we have people online, we have to go back through. Andrea Bennett, motion is to approve for anyone online.
Aye.
PJ Klein,
Aye.
Richard Smith,
Aye.
Sean Sullivan.
Aye.
Coleman, aye, the ayes have it, minutes are approved. Whew. All right, so we just wanted to mention that we do have, 4 other items today. We put like an approximate amount of time that we wanted to focus on them because really item number 4 is something that we as the advisory committee asked of Dave and David, and so they've worked really hard on putting that together for us and something we need to focus on so we can advise moving forward. But we are going to have, in just a few moments, to talk with NC Clean Cities. We're going to just review that carbon plan I'm sure everyone's heard all about, and then we'll end this meeting looking at other cities and their clean energy goals, which is also something we asked of them, and I'm sure Andrea did a lot of work for that too. So, with that being said, I will hand the meeting over.
Yeah, Ulrich, we'll go ahead and hand it over to you. One quick introduction though. Here we also have John Fortune, is our fleet manager. So once you all have the opportunity to meet him as well. And yeah, I think he'll be interested in hearing what Ulrich from Clean Cities Fuel has to say as well. So Ulrich, yeah, hand it over to you. Thanks very much.
Okay. Thank you, David, and thank you, Clean Energy Advisory Committee, for allowing me the opportunity to do a presentation on the Clean Cities Coalition initiatives, as well as discuss some of the opportunities that and some of the technical assistance as well as resources that the North Carolina Clean Energy Technology Center can provide. And so briefly, I'm going to start with the background of the whole Clean Cities Coalition, and then lead into some of the goals of the coalition as we see it in the formation of a fourth Clean Fuels Coalition, and then touch on how the center can actually be able to help you all out with resources that would potentially be mutually beneficial. And so, and given the background of the Clean Cities Coalition, so the Clean Cities Coalition, it really came into existence about 1988 as an effort to really try to displace petroleum gas consumption and to be able to improve air quality. And then so with these measures, it was a spinoff to the Energy Policy Act of 1992. And then so Clean Cities officially came into existence in 1993. And the basis of it is to be able to, as I said, improve air quality through the reduction of gasoline and diesel consumption and displace that with initiatives for alternative fuel vehicle, albeit assistance, coordination of identifying mutual interests and commonalities, and looking at advanced transportation technologies that would be able to improve air quality. And then so as of, I would say a few years ago, 2016, the whole Clean Cities effort had reduced about 7.5 billion, and that's with a B, gallons of petroleum and diesel consumption. And this is done through having about roughly as of present, 75 Clean Cities chapters. And the Clean Cities chapters, they are located throughout the country. And there are about 75. And there can be whole states that are considered a Clean Cities coalition. There can be whole counties that are considered Clean Cities coalitions. But in the case of North Carolina has Council of Governments, or more so metropolitan areas, that currently represent Clean Cities chapters. And those only account for 20 or 21 of the 100 counties within the North Carolina system. And so with the case of the North Carolina Clean Energy Technology Center, we are requesting to form an additional fourth Clean Fuels Coalition. And it's a little bit of a difference in distinction between Clean Cities and Clean Fuels. And the difference in distinction is that we are forming this additional fourth Clean Fuels Coalition so that we can be able to provide technical assistance, education and outreach opportunities, trainings, funding opportunities, vehicle demonstrations, as well as other components to rural and underserved communities within all of Eastern North Carolina, within all of Northeastern North Carolina, and all of Central North Carolina. And we consider it imperative to be able to have these funding opportunities, or just have these trainings in these areas, so that we can be able to bring to the table and to the forefront these type of opportunities that are specifically designated with U.S. Department of Energy initiatives. Because without these areas being affiliated with a Clean Cities chapter, one, probably will not have heard of these different funding opportunities. And two, if you cannot, or if you have not heard of them, you cannot apply for these funding sources. And so we would be the ones that would actually be driving the trainings within these areas. And as we will be the overseers, or as USDOE actually provided us the funds, we will allocate those funds to, in turn, integrate trainings, albeit with whatever local stakeholders and local citizens saw that would be imperative to their specific region. And without that local feedback from the marketplace, which would be stakeholders from obviously police, obviously local government, obviously citizen-based, faith-based organizations, community centers, churches, and alike. We would not know what the landscape of you all's areas are. So what better to get that tie-in and feedback. And with that tie-in and feedback, and I'm sure some of you all are aware of working groups that North Carolina has within the state now, fleet transition being one of them, looking at some of their zero emission vehicle initiatives, as well as Governor Cooper's Executive Order 246 to try to get 1 million zero emission registered vehicles within the state by a certain time frame, as well as the NEVI funding and the Build Back Better infrastructure bill. I could go on and on with all the money and resources that are being poured into rural America. We feel that we could actually be able to assist rural and underserved communities with guidance on what to do with the money once, and how to procure those funds. But once you have procured those funds, how to keep that funding intact, what to do with that money. And we could do it in the face of actually doing trainings, as I mentioned. And some of those trainings, they could be hybrid, which they could be in person, or they could be via webinar, or we could do both. And that's where that feedback would come in from you all to see what would be the best or the better suited structure to do that. Some of these trainings could include, for example, school bus electrification and the school bus electrification, looking at the technical assistance and the best way to look at the infrastructure for these buses in terms of bidirectional charging, for example, and having certain charging ports, and how to make sure that your existing technology stays current and up to date, to where when newer modifications or newer existing technology comes into place, you already having those pieces intact, so that you wouldn't have to worry about kind of like working on dinosaur technology, if you will, or not having the vehicle infrastructure that is up to par. Another example could be utilities rates funding, right? Because we all know that they're working with the local utilities co-ops is paramount to being able to keep the rate structure in place and keeping it affordable and feasible for school districts. But it will also be paramount for EV funding as a whole for citizens. Another workshop could be dealership trainings with the original equipment manufacturers, and bringing those trainings in to talk to some of those other stakeholders that I mentioned, such as faith-based institutions or churches, or even local governments, to be able to see specifically what Ford is doing, what GM is doing, what Dodge Stellantis is doing, what ChargePoint is doing, what any of these organizations are doing in terms of being able to have a rollout for the infrastructure that will be able to accommodate the amount of zero emission vehicles that is being requested to come into the state of North Carolina. some of the services that we provide and some of the services that we could be able to help you all out with, in addition to this, is we run what is called a Clean Fuel Advanced Technology Grant. That RFP is currently open, and it will be open. The deadline to apply is August the 1st. But that is only for certain counties within North Carolina that are now in maintenance status of CMAQ, congestion mitigation air quality status. Wilmington is not one of those counties, and with that being the case, these trainings would supplant CFAP funding, and so that would give you all another funding stream for revenue opportunities that you actually could be able to apply for. And so we could do this with offering. We could do like a call, which would be kind of like a 30-minute to hour overview to see what your needs may be, or we could do like a more of a deeper dive to entail like a fleet utilization or fleet analysis to be able to see how you could right size your fleet and looking at how you could be able to benefit from seeing alternative fuel vehicles as well as advanced transportation technologies being implemented into your fleet. Or within the case of Wilmington, I know that you all are very progressive and very forward thinking in terms of your allocation towards what you're doing strategically in the short and interim, in doing, say, looking at 5-year goals, 10-year goals, and on down the line, and seeing what would be the best way to transition accordingly and meet those goals. And so those are some of the things we could do. We could also look at bringing in, I'm sure everybody is heard of hydrogen, hydrogen and offshore wind and solar, but we're currently, or you all are currently using a lot of offshore wind and solar. But we could look at the integration of, say, bringing in hydrogen as well into the fold. California is really at the forefront with one of the states that is using hydrogen in a plethora of different manners. And there is a lot of money that is coming down the pipeline, $150 million within the next upcoming months for hydrogen studies. But so we could be able to help out in terms of looking at how to integrate that into, say, your solar rooftop charging or your solar panels, as well as your charging stations. And so those are just some of the things. And with having this Clean Fuels Coalition, you would not just have access to the clean transportation team that I am a part of, but you would also have access to the other 3 departments within the North Carolina Clean Energy Technology Center itself, which you all already do quite a bit of work with, the Clean Power Industrial Efficiency program, the policy team, the renewable energy. You would have access to all of our different expertises, as well as our pipeline of subject matter experts that could be able to come in and offer any type of guidance for whatever needs you all may have. Getting stakeholders for this coalition is paramount. It is very imperative. US DOE, I have been told that they are not really, I won't say they're discouraging new applicants, but with there being 75, the number of coalitions already in existence is already pretty competitive. And so having the city of Wilmington on as a stakeholder would help us tremendously in terms of helping DOE realize the importance of walking the walk and talking the talk. I mean, you have a lot of these webinars that are being put out, Drive Clean Rule USA, and as I mentioned, NEVI funding, and all these other things. You're going to need institutions such as the center to be able to implement these trainings. in rural and underserved communities. And then with us having extension offices within all 100 counties of North Carolina, that better puts us in a better position to be able to carry out these trainings with our relationships. Another thing that we do is we also do vehicle demonstrations. And with vehicle demonstrations and ride-in drives, a lot of times we hold those in, say, the Raleigh-Durham markets, the Greensboro-Guilford County markets, or Winston-Salem. But doing this coalition or establishing this coalition will give us opportunity to have these trainings in Wilmington. And then, so we will be looking to you all to help us to come up with, say, venues for these trainings. And when we do these ride and drive vehicle demonstrations, we do them, or we look at them in two aspects. We look at them from a public side, and we look at it from a private or a public sector with local government officials, as well as fleet managers, as well as other government agencies. And so when we do this with the general public, we do this most oftentimes at sporting events such as baseball games, football tailgating games, hockey games, to just be able to have vehicle displays so that people can see the plethora of different options that they have, and so they can be able to see that, yeah, while EVs are fun to drive, they provide you a total cost savings in the long run. And with gas prices shooting through the roof, I mean, people are going to, and they're starting to realize how with EVs, you don't have the same type of maintenance that you would have with gas. I mean, all you have is really your tires, and then the life cycle of the battery, which the batteries typically last 8 to 10 years. But by then, you could obviously be able to look at second use life cycle cases, which is something else that we could also provide as in terms of studies. But we typically have different vehicles that are currently on the market so that people can see their options, and just be able to, as I said, realize the environmental benefits, as well as how to be able to help out with improving the air quality within their region, in the purchasing of plug-in hybrid vehicles or battery electric vehicles. And so when we do this with the fleet manager or the local government side, then we like to do trainings, which is considered the classroom portion of the actual workshop in the morning, and then follow it up with vehicle demonstrations with test drives of light, medium, and heavy duty pieces of equipment, so that fleet managers, local government officials, elected officials, and so forth can be able to test drive these vehicles to see how they perform, see what vehicles they may be looking at incorporating into their fleet, and just be able to see how they actually are on, say, a closed course track. And we also bring in the OEMs so that they can be able to discuss what they may actually have, and who the best to talk with people that are considering acquiring certain vehicles within their fleets than the dealers themselves. And then they also have equipment that we bring in. So we feel like we offer a magnitude of different avenues that we can actually do. We also do studies as studies and proposals, which we have a report that comes out once a year. The policy team actually has one with the desire report that comes out twice, but our study is tied more so specifically with E4 Carolinas, that is done with resiliency studies within North Carolina and South Carolina, looking at ways to actually be able to evacuate citizens and businesses further enough inland in the face of natural disasters such as hurricanes, and looking at different ways of doing this with backup battery storage, looking at buses and electric vehicles as being able to accommodate transporting citizens from further enough away from these places. Looking at places like gymnasiums, or how much backup generators, how long would they be able to power places such as school gymnasiums for areas of refuge for citizens to be able to actually be able to be in a safe place. So we do a lot of different things, as you all can see, and so these are just some of the resources that we actually will be able to provide to the city of Wilmington. Um, and as I said, I think that it would align with some of the Clean Energy Advisory Committee's goals of 2025, 2030, and beyond to transition to eventually Executive Order 246 and the like of what you all have in mind. I'm going to stop there and see if there are any questions. And I guess before I do that, let me touch more so on the coalition again, just so that you all know, to join the coalition, it is of no charge to join the coalition itself. We are looking at having 4 quarterly stakeholder meetings. We're looking at them being hybrid, being in person, as well as being a webinar via Zoom, such as this, because we realize that people from Greensboro or High Point or Winston-Salem might not be able to travel to Wilmington, or vice versa, vis-a-vis Wilmington might not be able to travel to those areas. But we do want to have all stakeholders at the table to have a voice, so that we can be able to get that feedback. And with those 4 quarterly meetings, we are hoping to have the first one officially on the books as a stakeholder meeting, probably late summer. I won't go into any dates, but we definitely welcome you all's feedback, because places that we were actually looking at holding one in the Triad area, but specifically also holding one in the Wilmington area. And with this being, I'm sure, being peak season for beach time or whatever the case is, I mean, I don't know the feasibility of that, but I know down the line we would like to have a training specifically in your area, and we would like to know of a closed course track, as I mentioned, to where we could actually be able to bring in a training to where police managers can come in and actually test drive the vehicle equipment. And within the coalition itself, we are going to eventually set up an advisory board, as well as we're going to set up a steering committee. And with the steering committee, we're going to have groups, more so groups of 5 or 10 that specifically discuss best practices, discuss what the local needs may be. And so that's where your input would come in specifically, to be able to offer us guidance as to what trainings you all would want to see.
Hey, Alec, if we could jump in real quick, just in case we have any questions before we need to move on to some of our other agenda items. I think the coalition certainly addresses some of the goals that our committee is going to be working towards. So appreciate your time giving us the background and details on it. I do have one quick question, and maybe the others do as well. Are there already some other coastal communities that have joined the coalition? Just so we may be aware of who else is involved in collaboration opportunities.
I know that we have spoken with Cape Fear Council of Governments. I'm not sure where they're in the process. Their TCC and their TAC approved to join as stakeholders, but I just have to follow back up with them.
All right.
And I know some other cities, or I should say other counties, like town of Chadburn was interested. So it's just a matter of follow up on our end.
Okay. Any questions from anyone else?
What about the 4 regions that are listed in here? New Hanover, Pender, Columbus, and Brunswick. Where are they from a county perspective?
Did you hear that?
And I did not.
Um, the other counties that are, I guess, like, we've got one of your handouts from the from your website, just talking about trying to set up this other coalition. I guess it's on the second page. There's like a map area.
Yes.
I guess, and it just identifies Region O as Brunswick, Columbus, New Hanover, and Pender. So those are, I guess you just have the eastern area divided up into regions, but that doesn't necessarily mean that all those lists are parts of the coalition at this point.
Yeah, and so I would probably be remiss in saying that I'm not sure what version of that fact sheet you all have, because we have now included areas within not just your area, but as well as within eastern part being Lumber River, Scotland County, and Richmond. So not sure what version you all are looking at, but
Perhaps
yeah.
you could send me the most recent edition. I can distribute it with our group here.
Yes, and I can definitely do that. But yeah, so we are, sir, those would be the areas within the whole Cape Fear region and your surrounding counties that we'll be looking at, counties and territories that we'll be looking at.
All right, thanks.
Not that I'm saying that it's a supportive idea, just a curiosity idea. What would preclude the city of Wilmington from doing it just like Raleigh, Charlotte, Asheville did, and just be a city versus joining the coalition? So as I understand here, there's 3 cities that are currently clean cities. They're not necessarily coalitions or regional coalitions. I misunderstood that.
I had a little difficulty. I heard part of it, but I didn't hear all of the question.
Is there something that precludes just city of Wilmington from, I guess, joining independently of
County or
yeah,
of a region?
yeah, I don't think there's anything that precludes that. No, I think you welcome whether it's just the city of Wilmington or the county as a whole. You welcome either.
Yeah, we welcome either and both. The coalition, well, stakeholders, which is pivotal of the coalition, is inclusive to a lot of organizations. County, city, a whole government can actually be included. Municipalities, it just runs the gamut. And David, yes, I can also send you the slide presentation that has the majority of stakeholders, but it's non-inclusive. So yeah, the city and county would be included, or could be participants.
Okay.
So
Any questions?
Yeah,
go ahead.
Yeah, I have a quick question. I think it's possible the sheet that was sent to us is creating a little confusion because it's confusing to me. So the question is, are you asking of Wilmington for us to join your organization as a potential stakeholder in a coalition that you're going to develop? Or do you already have the coalition framework in mind and asking us to join that?
So Evan, I'm glad you asked that question. And so we are in the process of forming that coalition, but yeah, we are requesting the city of Wilmington to join as stakeholders. It is one of 8 steps that you have to do with DOE and then recognizing Clean Cities coalitions. But so the stakeholder or garnering stakeholders is the first phase, and it's the most pivotal phase. And the way it works is you kind of have to do the work in terms of like doing the trainings, workshops, webinars, etc. Before they actually recognize you as a coalition. Is typically a 1 to 3 year process. We've already been doing some of the work. But yes, we are requesting for the city of Wilmington to join as stakeholders.
Got it. One quick follow-up on that. The 1 to 3 year period, is that Raleigh, Charlotte, Durham, et cetera? Are they in that 1 to 3 year period and part of a coalition, or are they in the pipeline to join one?
No, so I'm glad you also asked that follow-up question. So so Central Atlanta Council of Governments represents the whole Charlotte metropolitan area. Triangle J Council of Governments represents the Raleigh-Durham, Johnson County, Orange, all those surrounding areas. Land of Sky represents Asheville. So they are already approved Clean Cities chapters, but with approved Clean Cities chapters, every so often, which I believe it is a 2-year process, but don't quote me on that date. They have to reapply, which means that they have to just submit certain paperwork to be able to make sure that they're in good standing. But that is the reason for us applying to the coming fourth one, which we already partner with all 3 agencies in studies such as that E4 Carolinas proposal that I mentioned to you all, as well as some other proposals. And we partner with them in education and outreach. But anyway, that is the whole reason why we're forming a 4th coalition, so that we can be able to represent underserved areas.
And I'm sorry, just language-wise, when you say start a 4th coalition, I think that's what's confusing me. Is we wouldn't be our own coalition, or would we?
You would be a part of a coalition that the North Carolina Clean Energy Tech. Yes.
So those other 3 entities are part of their own. Maybe it's not important, but that's the part that I'm getting confused on. In terms of would we be our own coalition? If we said yes, we went through a process.
Okay, yeah. You would not be your own coalition. You would be a part of the Eastern and Central Clean Fuels Coalition that is being done by the North Carolina Technology Center. So does that answer your question?
Yeah, I think so. I was just looking at your sheet coming in, and it looked like you already had groups, and it seems like maybe that's not accurate. So I think I understand. Thanks.
So when I guess I wanted to clear it up. So when you say groups, well, which sheet are you referring to? So I can
maybe David, if you could show him what we were all given, and maybe allow him to respond to that. That might be helpful.
Let's hold it up in front of the camera. Okay. Yeah. That's the one. It perhaps show the front page as well, real quick.
Okay, yeah.
You're lucky I didn't write any crazy notes.
Okay, yeah. So that is the one pager, and it looks like also the follow-up. So that right there details the regions and territories covered within the coalition. It doesn't necessarily represent organizations that are already joined, but those are the coverage areas.
So can we get a list of who's joined these regions, G through R?
Yeah, I can definitely. I can provide. Yes, we can provide that.
Okay. All right.
I got a quick question. Do the various coalitions interact with each other, like 1 through 3 interact with us if we're the 4th coalition, or are we kind of separate and we just function with the other groups in Central and Eastern North Carolina?
No, we would, as I mentioned, we already interact with the existing 3 coalitions. And so we would be getting input and feedback from them as well. We want to keep this as congruent as possible.
Okay.
So yeah, it wouldn't just be exclusive.
If there's no other questions, Ulrich, appreciate your time very much and willingness to come and speak to the committee. I think that's all we had for you. So yeah, we'll get moving on to our other agenda items here in momentarily. So thanks again, and yeah, I'll be sure and distribute any updated information to the rest of the group that you send my way.
Thank you.
Thank you, David. Thank you, committee.
Thanks a lot.
All right, so what do we need to do to get Evan in? Just say Evan Bolt is here.
Yeah, you just need to recognize that Evan joined.
I recognize you.
Thank you for recognizing me. Sorry, everybody. I had a last minute complication. Sorry.
No worries.
No worries at all. So this was an action item. Do we want to make a motion to join the coalition and sign the letter of support?
I make a motion to defer this to our next meeting.
The motion is to table this until the next meeting.
A second.
And it's seconded. All right, so,
Discussion.
discussion. Anyone want to talk about it?
I
You
agree,
know,
but go ahead.
Yeah, if we're gonna table it for a vote or for more discussion until we get more information, why don't we save this as an agenda item for the next meeting, and whatever additional information that we get, we can add it to the bit we have now and can discuss them.
My concern is you have, I don't know, 40 counties or whatever, it's highlighted on this map. What it really want, only city that's looking at one else is.
I mean,
values that even bring to us.
Well, I mean,
I'm not saying it's the case, I want to know what position we put ourselves in.
I think well, we can discuss more, but I mean, I think that the resources that they, can perhaps bring to the city and whoever else may want to participate, even within our city.
Let me just clarify. The one thing that I've got written down that I know we've asked for is a listing of who else has joined. Was there anything else that we want to get from?
I mean, potential people who are also potentially interested, right? Who's joined and who else are they working on? Then there's going to be a list of all the people that they're not working on.
I mean, I'm not sure if I missed anything. What's the potential downside for the table by joining? I mean, what are the commitments for us, time and, cost, logistics wise, other than
the quarterly meetings or something? Yeah, I mean, it's just, they're.
I think, this is just building a conduit for resources.
Yeah.
Correct. I looked at it a different way, which is what value does this bring to help us hit our objectives?
I think it's the resources. Training, resources, funding, grant opportunities.
Yeah, they can help with fleet analysis items. I know they've already done that with some other cities up in the Triangle.
Well, the Clean Energy Technology Center and NC State will do that whether or not you can clean cities coalition or not.
Part of them.
That's what I'm trying to find out. What's the difference?
Part of them joining, and becoming parts of these kind of efforts helps them get funding to continue with their work. So, that's probably one of the reasons they're looking to be able to expand the program, is just being able to get access to additional funding and resources from their end as well.
If you read on the second page, fourth line, it says, as a manufacturer or trade organization, you will have access to a network of partners and organizations that are expanding infrastructure and fleets. And I read that and I said, we're not a manufacturer nor a trade organization.
Which, yeah, it's just another group that they want to be able to reach out to as well. I mean, that part certainly doesn't pertain to us.
I like the branding of being a clean city.
Yeah, I think it's good value. I want to know who's on board.
Well, I think all of these are valid, and we can do some more research.
Okay.
I just don't think I don't think if we vote yes today or vote yes, I don't think we lose anything by waiting long. Is that a better statement?
Did we
Yes.
lose anything?
No.
Are there any opportunities? Okay.
No. Not that I'm aware of.
There's been a motion and a second.
Any more discussion? Thank you. So we're gonna go down the roll. Andrea?
Is this an aye to table the discussion to next week?
Yes.
Next month.
Aye. Next month. Oh, gosh, yeah. Aye. Thanks.
Evan?
Aye.
PJ?
Aye.
Richard?
Aye.
Sean?
Aye.
Cat, aye. That motion passed. All right, now, just to reiterate, we really want to talk a lot about item 4 because that's what we asked of David. So we're already off track on our timing by quite a bit. So you want to do item 4
Is there a way
first?
to combine items 3 and 4, kind of in the same conversation? Answer could be down.
No, I mean, I really just want, item number 3, I really just want to at least get this in front of everybody, the Duke's carbon plan, just to, I'm not sure who else, some of you may have already looked into it, but, from the work that you do already. Others may have no idea what's going on. I just kind of wanted to provide an update, maybe some brief discussion on it, and just kind of give you actions that the city is currently taking part in. So.
Yeah, the reason I asked the question is with item 3, we still have, they're still going to have utilities commission meetings and stakeholder reviews. And
Absolutely.
So I don't know if we're going to lose anything by skipping that and potentially not covering it today and just cover item 4.
You may want to mention the public hearing that may take place for our next meeting.
July 11th or 12th?
The 12th.
Here, City of New Hampshire County Courthouse, Portland 317, 316.
And then there's also a virtual session in August.
Yes.
I don't know if that's on here or not as well.
It's not, but yes, there is.
Do you know if that public hearing will be virtually as well?
I think so. I think there's opportunity for it to be virtual.
So I will not be available locally.
Let me just go over it briefly. I'll just say what we're doing in 5 minutes here. So basically the plan is looking at a number of different pathways to achieve the governor's 70% reduction by 2050. Only one of those pathways kind of meets, there's also an interim goals of like 2030. So only one of those pathways meets that interim goal. The other 4 meeting that 70% reduction goal out to 2032 to 2034 and beyond. Kind of on page 3, I suppose, of the handout that I sent out, it kind of breaks down the various. It's it's a bit of a complicated table graph that they provide, but it does kind of break down the various categories where they're going to be making investments and changes in, whether that's solar. New solar programs or battery storage or offshore wind. Of course, it still very much heavily relies on coal plant retirements and new natural gas plants coming online, which in particular, the new natural gas plants is a big hang up, particularly for cities across North Carolina that have more aggressive goals than we currently have. They would, I'll name like Asheville for one. They've got 100% renewable energy goal for municipal operations by 2030. So if natural gas is a part of that goal, there's no way that they're going to be able to meet their goals. So there are a number of communities across the state that I think I've mentioned in the past, I'm part of the Southeast Sustainability Directors Network. There's a North Carolina component of that that's already been having quite a bit of discussion over this and is preparing a draft comment letter in regard to some of the points that they would like to bring up. And similar to how we approached Duke's IRP back in 2020, where 11 different cities signed a public comment letter addressing their concerns. We're taking a similar approach for the carbon plan and hopefully drafting a comment letter that the group of cities can submit to the North Carolina Utilities Commission, kind of addressing the various points that they'd like Duke to see covered.
So if I understand this correctly, so trying to level set.
Yep.
Take the worst plan, which is number 4, right?
Right.
Pathway forward. They will be at 70% by 2034. So it's along this out, which meets our needs of being at 50% by 2035.
It would, yeah. You know, again, if we're looking at just Wilmington's goals, their plans.
We're talking about carbon or energy?
We're talking electricity, energy in particular. You know, of course, anything they do to, you know, reduce their energy is, again, it's going to have an impact on our carbon, our greenhouse gas emissions. So.
Right, but this is a carbon plan, and we were talking about our goals. And I'm sorry to have to try to level set this in my brain every time it comes up, but like, I'm still not clear there. Because I just heard what our commitments were, and I think they were for energy, right?
I mean, our goals are by 2030 or
2035.
Excuse me, you're at 2035 are what, 50% reduction by 2035, 58%.
Oh,
yeah, that's by 2050.
I'm sorry, if we could just qualify that of energy or of emissions.
Of greenhouse gas. That's the, Dave, you got the quote right there.
This committee's goal by 2035 is that we've transitioned to 50% clean energy. And what PJ is saying is that, estimating, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but plan number 4 on the Duke's proposed carbon plan, which appears to be the longest and most minimal impact to Duke, still allows us to meet our goal of 50% clean energy by 2035.
Yeah, you're right.
Fair statement.
The only additional piece of that is, you know, the clean energy component was the energy from the utility, as well as the building usage of natural gas. Obviously, you can reduce them. I think we still get there.
And I think that natural gas use is probably
Negligible.
Yeah, small.
Supposed to be accounted for, but very small.
Yeah, our natural gas usage.
Yeah, so your building energy or facilities energy is electricity and natural gas for either process or heat. So our goal is by 2035 to be at 50%. The energy is going to be at 70% by 2034 as it stands, as we sit here today.
Yeah, I think that interim goal is not as much a concern as is the. Yeah, again, and the table I'm showing only kind of shows out the 2035 timeframe, you know, because, you know, Duke will have to go through this all over again at some point down the road. So
2 years from now.
yeah, so the 2050 goal in that time frame is the one that's more troubling, particularly if they're planning on building out more natural gas, where, you know, what's the lifespan of a natural gas plant? That's, you know, certainly puts it out beyond 2050. So
So to put us on track, we probably need to move on to the next agenda item. I'm sorry.
No doubt. Just one thing, sorry. Is the document that you just sent us, the addendum, the 4-pager that we're looking at of the carbon plan, is that percentage in there referencing clean energy or carbon?
It's their carbon plan that they make our energy, so they have to, that complicates even more.
yeah,
I just need to make sure that I'm thinking about this right. If we're talking about percentages and that percentage in the document is for carbon, it's not our doesn't reconcile to our goal. So there's going to have, if I'm looking at that right, if I'm not, please correct.
They are talking about carbon, but they are using clean energy to reduce their carbon because they provide our energy. So
So
it is both.
specifically, those percentages in the document are referencing an energy assessment. Is that right or no? Because there's no metric on it. It just says percentage.
There's just carbon. It's a carbon plan.
It's a 70% carbon dioxide emission reduction.
There you go. It's not energy. So we're reconciling percentages of what it would be good for us for their carbon plan for our energy goals. So I'm just, are we seeing that the same, or there needs to be a calculation or a translation that we work with in this group to clear that up. Otherwise, we're not doing what we're saying we're doing.
Well, that's the egret factor.
Yeah.
It does go back.
I don't have the solution. That's all. I just want to make sure that's clear.
It does go back to, as Dave just mentioned, the egret factor. So, which is what we utilize to calculate our carbon emissions, our greenhouse gas emissions. So, as Duke continues to clean up the grid, their inputs to the grid, via these various pathways, it helps us reduce our carbon. So, yeah, it is their carbon plan, but the way that they're reducing their carbon is through their energy production and how they supply it to the grid. Is that?
I mean, I'm just pointing out that the percentages that we're relying on to say that we're right aren't the same. From there, I lose the thread. If I'm honest.
Evan, I think your assumption is correct.
Mm-hmm.
It's not, what we have in here is based on carbon.
Mm-hmm.
But just keep in mind, I look at this as a why. Duke creates our energy, and then it's giving us two separate benefits, right? One of them is reduced carbon. And what they're saying is that benefit based on this plan is a 70% reduction by 2034. That is independent of our goals as a committee. The other branch of the why is that in order for them to do that, they have to clean up the energy that they're sending to the grid. We measure that based on the egret factor. And that egret factor is going to have to change in the favor of clean energy in order for it to achieve that goal. And when it does change, that will result in a benefit of what our goal is, of 50% clean energy by 2035. So I'm not sitting here advocating that we've done the math to say that yes, it'll do it, but we're already at 48% or something like that. So in order to get from where Duke is now to 70% of their target for carbon, we're saying that it's going to get us over that 50% goal. We haven't done the math. I'm not saying we have, but we're already at 48% on the egret factor right now.
Let me do some quick math, which I did.
Okay.
So looking at pathway 4, Duke Energy is going to retire 6.2 gigawatt hours of coal. And they're going to replace it with the solar, the battery, the onshore wind, offshore wind, nuclear, and pump storage, which is going to give them a net positive of 6.4 gigawatts in addition to on their grid. And then they have the additional, whatever that is, 3.2 gigawatts worth of coming online. So proportionally, you're going to be retiring 6.4 or 6.2, adding 6.4 of clean, and then you're going to be adding another 3.2. So right off the bat, that's 66% incremental more renewable than carbon emitting.
All right, we have to move to item 4. Sorry, everyone. Thank you for all of that. So, recommended action item, optimize energy efficiency of municipal buildings. And we have this, you're here in person, you have a great big spreadsheet. If you're online, you have it online.
Yeah. Actually, PJ reached out and requested some information. So this is by no means a complete spreadsheet yet, but what we've been able to compile so far. It kind of, I tried to group things as opposed to, I would say, give it either, I think the column I have listed as category. I tried to list kind of our, I would say, real facilities, either as category 1 or category 2, or fire stations or category 3. But some of the other stuff gets down into things like some of our city parks, where we may have some kind of a small structure there. But also tied into that account is going to be some outdoor area lighting. So I tried to group the most important facilities towards the top. That's not always going to hold case, but for the most part, we can I'll certainly refine the spreadsheet as we go along. But things like a type of lighting, I included the ones that I know that we've done complete facility LED retrofits in. Some of the others I'm going to have to follow up on. Some of them I know our facility folks, as they're going in and replacing stuff currently, they're not putting in old fluorescent bulbs or replacing things with LEDs. So some of these facilities may have partial LEDs already installed. The BAS systems, building automation systems that we use to monitor and control the facilities. I included the ones where I know we have whole building BAS systems installed, but I'll certainly need to go back through the list and check on some of the other facilities in here. But in general, I've gone through and included the information we have to date right now, but we'll definitely refine things as we go along. The column farthest to the right, the KBTU per square foot, that's kind of the column I really look at to help guide where our next energy efficiency project will go. Generally, the higher the KBTU per square foot, the less efficient the building is operating. So you can certainly see like facilities that are over 100 KBTU per square foot are good opportunities for some energy efficiency programs. But the other thing I will point out is this is from some previous year's data. We were just able in the last week to finally get complete Duke Energy data since they made their conversion to their new software system. So I was just able to upload all of that data last week, and I'll be updating the spreadsheet with more current data here in the next couple of weeks. I'll have that done before our next meeting. But yeah, we can certainly put it out open for some discussion. But perhaps this will be a good document that we can refer to as we target energy efficiency programs around our city facilities.
One generalized question I have is, like, one of the things that jumps out to me is some of your heavier users are not by square foot, but just total kWh are parks. What facilities do we have?
Can you point to one?
Olson Park and MP Park were the two that kind of jumped off the screen. And I wrote that down too, and also Legion. Those three.
Outdoor facility lighting. So MP's got like our tennis court lightings, and it's not.
So it's area light, it's
right.
Lighting.
Right. The problem is we don't have those on separate sub-meters. We've got.
Currently, does the city, are those managed by Duke, or are those owned and operated, managed maintenance by the city?
We own them. And we do have a contract with
Musco.
Yeah, Musco. And I'm pretty sure we've got at least one of those areas that's under review for conversion to LED.
Okay.
That might be Legion.
Okay.
But I think there's interest in converting all of them eventually as we progress through this.
Sure. Because I mean, if you look at KWE per square foot, obviously if you take the entire park into consideration, where it kind of looks like this has, your EY is small. But if you look at total usage, your annual versus what's actually consuming it versus just your high sodium, your pressure device, then that's pretty high, that's the usage per piece of equipment is probably pretty high.
Yeah.
Yeah, so my ask on the recreation would be if there was a way we could break out the data, lighting versus physical buildings, whether there's concession stands or offices.
We may have some separate meters, but we don't have anything sub-metered.
Sub-meter being the city or being Duke Energy? I mean, do you do internal sub-meter?
No.
Wish we could separate it out that granular. That would be.
Yeah, I think the parks would be an interesting case study. Anything else? I got 6 on them. They're small. Most of them are observations. So the police headquarters is 28 kWh per square foot versus the southeast headquarters, which is 12. I thought that was interesting based on the size of the police headquarters.
Southeast Command Center,
Yeah, this is small.
and it really was never meant to be a police station. It was an office building, dentist, something that we bought because we needed something there. And right now that's actually under consideration for relocation.
So looking at the fire stations, if I exclude the headquarters and fire station 6, my guess at looking at the other ones that KWH per square foot should be about 10, except for firehouse is 7, 8, and then Center Drive are higher than the 80. I wonder what the other ones are doing so well to get us there. Then also looking at just offices, I believe Luke's office is the ops center, the meeting building, and then the police and fire station was about 2 times what the median is for the other offices. Obviously, that's because of funding use. We talked about the parks. Wilmington Convention Center data, it looks weird because it says it's a convention center, right, and parking, and it's listed as a parking. I don't know if there's a way to break out the parking from the physical building.
Yeah.
Back to sub-meter.
It's just 1 meter there.
Police headquarters makes up 20% of the total energy usage. You guys probably know that. Then there's 2 additional facilities. Your top 3 facilities make up 40%. And then there's 5 facilities in general that make up 50% of our total energy usage for the entire city. One thing is not related to carbon reduction or clean energy, but I think there's an opportunity for some cost savings in the city by looking at some of your schedules, your rate schedules. I think some of these buildings are on the wrong rate schedules.
Yeah, we do a rate review every year with Duke Energy, so.
They're in the business.
Yeah. I was about to say, the clean tech did it for, Give QA.
Okay.
And they send it out like once a month. For them to,
Yeah, I'd be interested in
Yeah,
finding out a bit
absolutely.
more about that.
I mean, they probably are steering you in the right direction, but I'd want an independent review.
Okay, yeah, it's good.
Just to verify.
It's a good
So a
point.
lot of these, I think, like, to go to medium general service, I think you have to be over 50 kWh, maybe it's 30. There's a whole bunch of facilities here. I mean, even like Amy's headquarters, 552, and you're on a small general services, time of use, 24/7 facility. You're running the same all day long, doesn't matter. So,
Yeah.
just a thought.
Good point.
I digress.
Those were great.
That was quick, right? This is just me digging through this for 15 minutes.
Yeah, and, why don't we kind of, I can put this on a spot that, I can share it with the group, and we can kind of keep it as an ongoing document to refer to for efficiency projects. I'll get it updated with current Duke data.
I mean, looking at City Hall's building 1855,
Yeah.
AWH per square foot, 62, or
Yeah.
16. But then you look at the BTU value is higher. I don't know what the efficiency is.
Yeah, we just
Efficiency is a key issue.
we've just done some major changes over there too.
We have uninsulated attic.
The natural gas usage is so astronomical.
We're just completing a project to replace all the HVAC in that building and install new fan systems.
Probably gonna make a big difference. I mean, just considering it uses 750 kWh a year. That's,
Yeah, 28,000 therms gas.
Yeah.
That's a lot of gas.
I mean, police headquarters makes sense, because look at the physical size of the building.
Was the
And
fire,
it's also 24/7.
was the fire station on Cinema Drive not built to LEED standards?
It was, yeah.
What's going on there?
Lead silver.
Yeah, but it's like extremely high and everything.
Well, I wouldn't say it's extremely.
Well, okay, yeah, you're right, you're right.
It's above the median.
Yeah.
The median for all those fire stations, Mines headquarters and Station 6 was 10.
Yeah.
I would say like a lot of the older stations in particular. You know, I go and visit those things and those guys, they barely turn on the lights in those. It's like they do a really good job with.
People with new and shiny equipment expect it to run more.
Yeah.
They take it for granted a little bit more, I think.
So it's still, yeah, Cinema Drive's still efficient, but yes.
What are some of the other buildings that are LEED silver? Are there a few more? The convention center?
Convention center is, yeah, but again, it's just like a single meter for the parking deck and the facility.
That, if I had money, that's where I'd spend it. I'd want to know between the convention center and parking deck. Those
Yeah,
parking-
the issue is like the convention center is managed by an outside entity, so you know,
Are all those lights in the parking deck LED?
not in the convention center. Yeah, our Market Street parking deck where we have the chargers are. I'm not sure if Chance is looking at doing another LED lights for any of the other parking decks, but yeah, it was definitely worthwhile in our Market Street. You get, which is always interesting to see because that's basically all the energy use that's going on in the parking deck. So we can really see the impact when there's no other, you know, heating, cooling, or other plug loads going on. So
One other question I had was, or I guess one other ask I have as you go forward, like when you update the numbers and that kind of thing, I'd like to see the BAS system column filled in as much as possible.
okay,
If you want to keep
with
with
a no,
what's it?
with a no.
Well, yeah, I guess, or just specify that the blank ones are no, or you know,
Yeah.
is that how it is? The blank ones they don't have BAS, or we just haven't checked yet?
Right, limited.
Yeah, very limited BAS.
Okay.
would you like to see the type of system that's in there, or just a yes or no?
Can you describe that?
I mean, if it's not
Hang on.
particularly difficult to get the type of BAS, that would be beneficial, I think.
What was that, Evan?
I just was hoping you could describe what a BAS is.
Oh, yeah.
It's a building automation system, and basically it's what you can use to control your HVAC systems on a commercial scale. Like where in your house you have a thermostat, in a big commercial building you have a BAS system that has computer programming, and you can change things like set points and sequence of operations, like time schedules, lights, those kind of things.
Okay, that's helpful. Do we have anything that I was thinking maybe it was a monitoring system? Do we have nodes set up in any buildings, or did we discuss the idea of an IoT network to connect all of this? Is that how we positioned on all that?
Evan, if you look on that spreadsheet, there's a column that says BAS system, and the ones that have yes in that column are the only ones that we have those systems in. And to add, they are limited to HVAC.
Correct. Just HVAC. Are they all locally controlled, or is there a remote?
You're really gonna ask those questions now.
Should I not? You don't have to.
So I'll just tell you what our goal is. Our goal is to get them all on the same platform.
Sure.
And I was literally just talking about that this morning with the controls contractor right across the street.
Okay.
So that is our goal.
Okay.
We have struggled with that. We're on one system. The first building that we ever had this in was police headquarters.
Yeah.
That is not the system that we want to use as a platform throughout. As we've grown, we haven't been as smart as we needed to be in order to install common systems.
Sure.
So now we're going to have to go to a common platform, and that's our goal.
Okay. So, but
We will have that on the system across the street, along with a couple of other buildings.
so by common system, you mean that you can access, like they may be different control systems, but they'll be on the same
Correct.
remote
Yeah.
computer or whatever.
So my staff would be able to pull up on their laptop,
Okay.
have open access to a building, no matter where they are,
Correct.
to review, control, manage,
So
edit.
currently you don't have that, but that is the goal you're working.
We do have it for some buildings.
Okay.
We don't have it across all of them.
Okay.
Would you want to see the new data and the old data?
For usage,
Yeah, when it pulls it in, so
I think it'd be helpful compare. I think it'd be helpful. Even if it's just, current year versus last year, or whatever it might be, just so we can get some kind of trending comparison.
you guys made changes.
Like this data and then this next.
Yeah,
next year's.
yeah, just create a new column or new column. 2019 or 2021 annual, 2022 annual,
Okay.
or it breaks out fiscal year 2022, 2023.
Are all of your large scale facilities on chiller plants, or are some of them on DX heat pump style?
This building right here is the only one that has a separate cooling tower. The rest of them, chillers.
I guess, going forward, one of my questions, I think, is how would the city like us to interact with this data? I mean, would you like this to just be informational for us to have this and absorb this, or do you want to actively solicit feedback from us, or, as an advisory committee, we're not necessarily here to sit here and tell you, oh, you should do this, this, and this with this data, So I'm just asking how you guys would like to handle, do you want, when you have specific questions, do you want us to reference this and answer those questions? Do you want us to actively bring your recommendations? How do you want to, because I know we had kind of talked about right when we started that the advisory committee is not supposed to get too into the nuts and bolts of it.
I'd say twofold. One is unofficially, for those that have more direct expertise with energy data, building systems. Unofficially, whatever commentary, opinions, advice you can offer, we'd be open to listen to. As the committee, I think more along the lines of what PJ's offered. He picked up right off the bat that 5 of our buildings are 50% of our energy usage. To hear something along those lines from the committee that says, look, this is where you're going to get most bang for your buck. So we can slice and dice the data however it makes sense y'all, and we can listen to y'all for whatever those cues are. And how y'all might view that data to come up with more global recommendations. We don't expect you to pick the size of the pump motor that we
Sure,
need,
right.
but
I will though.
I know you will. Those are the unofficial things.
I'll be sorry.
But to me, what you're looking at is, the difference is, here's what I think could help that building versus, we think that y'all ought to focus for the next X number of years on these types of issues, or this group of buildings, or this particular issue. I think that's what you're referred to as a committee.
So my thought process, right, the recommendation or advice is, I'd be going after police headquarters and convention center. Convention center, because I don't know the data completely, and you can separate it between the convention center and parking lot. Then you can say, is the parking lot okay? And then the convention center and police headquarters, in my mind, is a no-brainer. Every city has, these big cities have convention centers. All of them have police headquarters. The numbers we have is raw data. I don't have any, I have nothing to compare it to. We don't have two police headquarters to say which one's doing better, which is one of my first points, right, the square footage. That was the only way I can compare. And so we may find out we're best in class right now in police headquarters compared to what other city police headquarters do. We also find out we're managing involved. So I don't know where to tell you the best bang for your buck is, because I have nothing to compare it to. Those are the two places I'd be digging into, because they're the biggest users.
Something I run into a lot is a lot of times when you have a building that's occupied 24/7, like your police headquarters, there's a tendency to kind of throw up your hands at it and say, well, people are in there 24/7, we need to run it all the time. And that's why it's our highest cost center. Just because it's occupied 24/7 and just because it's your highest cost center, and just as a reminder, it does not mean you need to give up on it necessarily. There are still opportunities to be had and ways that you can maximize the efficiency. I'd say one piece of advice I would give is just to not write that off simply because it's constantly occupied building. There are still ways you can maximize your efficiency there working around that.
So I will build on your comment, because in a manufacturing plant that's run 24/7, the engineering offices aren't occupied 24/7. So just because the facility is 24/7 doesn't mean every single space 100% is 24/7. So there's ways to slice it. Hey, the call center, the call piece, taking 911 calls, maybe that may be 24/7, but 60% of the rest of the building is only Monday through Friday, 8 to 5.
Great.
Do we have any comments from those of you online?
I think I'm good for today. Well, let me just say one thing to build on what they were saying is that I totally agree. Without a baseline and comparison, there's no way to evaluate, right? Like that makes complete sense. I'd love to take that a step further and say, well, when we do evaluate, when I was mentioning the nodes and an IoT network that can give you the type of overlay and access that you were talking about, Dave, I actually work with a group called Green Screen that does that type of work. And I'm going to send Dave and David, I'm going to send you both an email with an email that I had them send me. And I was hoping that we could have a phone call before the next meeting, just to open up a door of opportunity to see where the city is in that process of being able to take a baseline and bring in measurement of water, energy, et cetera, to improve the carbon footprint of that building. In saying that, is that something that you're doing already or looking at?
As far as just the energy usage and water usage?
All of the above wrapped up into a carbon footprint. And again, I'm bringing carbon into it, but it also involves energy saving energy in order to accomplish that. I think rather than try to explain it virtually, I'm not going to be able to do that. sort of have to look at that and have a conversation. We don't have time for that. So that's the point. I was just letting you know, I was going to send you an email, and I would love to set up a phone call so that we can explore this.
Yeah. Send us, let us take a look at it.
Way to go about it. Yep. Great. I'll do that.
Okay.
David, one thing I'd like to have going forward, or at least what I think would be best as far as us being able to look into this is, if you can, whether you send it as an email or make it like a Google Doc, I want to be able to have this in an Excel sheet where, and so I can do a pivot table and sort of filter it, so we can go, we can sort it by, PJ may want to look at KBT per square foot, and I may want to look at annual KWH. So just having that digital document to be able to filter and organize it how we each best look at things would be helpful.
Okay.
If there's no more discussion, we can move on to item number 5, the last statement. Awesome.
Yeah. And yeah, I'll start out just by saying, this was put together again, just kind of in, just so we all could kind of have some reference point into what other cities in North Carolina and around the Southeast have established as their clean energy goals and plans, to kind of give us a reference point in regard to our efforts. As well, I think I put in a couple comments in there that, some of the cities have brought in outside expertise to help them develop their climate action plans. I believe that Jessica who's not here today, was actually asking about that, if there were, how did these other cities do it? How did they pull their information together to form their plan going forward? So I included that where I could. Just to kind of give us a reference point to where we stand amongst our North Carolina peers.
So do you have working relationships with the sustainability managers in these areas? For example, like Peter asked, we don't have a police headquarters to compare to. Do you have counterparts that you can say, what's your police headquarters usage in square footage?
Like the sustainability managers, directors in all of these cities, I have relationships with, so I could certainly ask that question. Okay. Everybody's very, in all of these cities are very open about sharing ideas, issues that they're dealing with.
Sure.
A great group to be involved with. Any questions from you guys online?
I don't have any questions. I'm surprised that Boone is 100% renewable.
Rex.
That's interesting.
No,
no Rex at all?
No, they actually deal with small community co-ops up there. So they were. This is for their municipal operations.
Yeah, but is all of New River Light and Power and Blue Ridge Energy, are they 100% renewable then? That's the only way that would happen. That would be the first utility in the country that would be 100% renewable.
I think all of theirs is coming from either hydro or solar.
They have wind up there too.
I'm gonna have to look at. I'm not saying it's not true. I saw your statement in bold here, right? And I was like, good for them, but I don't know if that's a shot.
Yeah, I think they've
Unless
got.
they're offsetting somehow.
I think they've got all their info online there, so to show where State's coming from. So
I'm surprised. I'm shocked. I will say tonight.
So again, this is another document we can kind of keep up to date as other cities reach goals or establish new ones. I think it's definitely worthwhile just to kind of have as a reference document to perhaps guide where we go in the future as well.
Well, thank you. All of this is really great information. I'm sure that we'll be talking to all of us between now and the next meeting after you give us all the stats and stuff. We really appreciate it.
Cap, one quick follow-up from probably what Richard was saying. Since we joined the membership of the ICLEI ClearPath tool, we do have some historical data associated with all of this. And if there's desire to see or understand that too, that's something else that we offer. So 2018, I think, is that when we started?
I mean, I think that gets you your baseline.
Yeah, so we can go back 2 or 3 years, but it would also allow people to see some of the changes.
Yeah.
Because this column for LED and VAS, I mean, those weren't all yeses where they were yeses now. Just for additional information.
Yeah, I've got, total energy use across the city, going back, a number of years. It may not break it down by building, but it definitely, shows trends. Some years it's been up, some years it's been down. The last couple it's been down. Overall trend since 2015 has been down, but yeah, we definitely have a couple up years in there, which I think a lot of cities did just based on weather data and COVID-19 impacts. So
one thing I think that would be worth beginning to look into, like kind of especially as Pete is pointing out submetering and that kind of stuff, is the interval data that you can get from Duke now, and
yeah.
Speaking with them about what the best way to access that is and how they may be able to provide that to you.
Yeah.
Because once you start, if the city chooses to start implementing energy efficiency programs, that interval data would be very useful.
Yeah, they've got that available online now, so it will be helpful to be able to look at.
Any last comments?
On the next meeting date?
July.
July.
Yeah, how's everyone's schedule looking in July? I mean, we're beginning to run into times when folks are going to be out of town and on vacation. For July. Anyone else? What we're pull up my calendar. I forget the.
If we do the second, we do July 11th. I mean, I'm available at this moment anyway.
You're good.
Sean?
You're
You good?
Yep.
Evan?
Sorry. What's the next date of the next meeting?
I'm good.
The 11th, July 11th.
I will be on a work conference, so I won't be able to be there.
And Evan, I'm sorry, you said you were good, or?
Yeah, I'm good. Yeah. I'm available on the 11th.
Okay, great.
That's only 4. Yeah, DJ's not available, Andrew's not available.
We'll have to assess everybody else.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll probably just send out an email to everyone to let me know. And what about going forward for the rest of the year? Is everybody okay with keeping this second Monday of the month at the same time location? If so, I'd like to go ahead and get this room reserved sooner than later. I think right now I've got it through August. So, but yeah, I'd like to go ahead and extend that if everyone is okay with this schedule, sticking to it monthly at the same time.
I thought we had talked about going to every other month at some point after the first 6 months. I'm not sure when that clock starts.
Yeah, we did discuss that, but
Yeah, I think we had discussed that for possibly starting in April or in August, because I think we had to make a motion to do monthly meetings. We did it through August. So I think if we do continue to do monthly meetings, we may just have to make another motion.
We can put that on the agenda for next month.
PJ won't get to vote on it, that's fine, I'll take all the action.
I'll probably go ahead and extend the meeting schedule, you know, for until, I don't know, a year out, just so I can get the room, and if we need to, you know, if we vote to go to, you know, every other month, I can cancel. So just so I don't lose the room, because, yeah. So you may get a extended meeting invite, just FYI.
Good.
Motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn the meeting.
A second.
All right, do I have to roll call on this one? No, right?
No.
Okay, cool. Peace.
Thanks,
Thanks.
everyone.
Bye, everybody.
All right, bye.
I still don't see how City of Boone is doing it.
Go to their
So
website.
They're also very small.